Good evening, everyone. It's 5 p.m. sharp, so I figured I might just as well hit the go live button for good now. Um, yeah, welcome to this very first OctoPrint code and chat in quite a while. It's actually been over 3 months, I think, since I last did one. Since then, I was so busy with preparing one for one and then one for two and all that, and none of the stuff that I had to do for that was really interesting to watch, I think, because it was just a lot of fixing something here, fixing something there, analysis of tickets that were still open, stuff like that, and then also some things like my test rig being built offline more or less, because that was something that I did like physically on a desk. So yeah, that's the reason for this not having happened for a while. But so I collected a bunch of stuff over the past couple of weeks since my return from my summer vacation, where I figured, well, maybe we could do another live chat and tackle that maybe. And also one or two requests, or no, one request and one thing to mention. First of all, the thing to mention, you might notice that I have something in my ear there. That's a little Bluetooth headset thingy. The reason for that is the past couple of times that I did one of these live chats, I felt really out of my comfort zone because I did not have music while coding. So now this is fixed for me, and it's very, very low volume, so it doesn't confuse me or anything. It's just so that, my word is correct, so to speak. The other thing is, I fiddled around a bit with the volume levels, because the last OctoPrint on Air that I did had some clipping in there and such, and I did a quick test listen earlier, a small test recording if the levels were good now, and they should be. But if you notice any kind of clipping or anything, then please tell me in the live chat so that I can compensate, because I don't want another recording ruined by volume clipping. So okay, so that was that. What will we be looking at today? So I got 3 things that I want to take a look at today, and I'm pretty sure we will not be able to walk through all of them. But yeah, so I ordered them from simple to more complex. And we are going to start with something that currently gets a bit more used than it did before. So I don't know if you ever saw that, but if you have one of the plugins installed that are now being moved over to a new maintainer, then you might have gotten one of these notifications pop up, sponsored by the plugin manager plugin that's bundled with OctoPrint, which tells you then to please reinstall from the plugin repository and all that. And the thing with these notifications is that I originally built them for a completely different reason, or a different purpose, because my original goal with these notifications was, if there is a plugin out there that with a specific plugin version and a specific OctoPrint version has a bug or something, or needs a workaround or a setting change or something, then I could tell people about that via those notifications. Which is why inside OctoPrint, it just it retrieves these notifications from the server. These notifications contain a list of versions, of OctoPrint versions and of plugin versions, and only if the OctoPrint version is in the list of OctoPrint versions and the plugin version is in the list of plugin versions, then the notification will be shown. Now, with the situations where we have to migrate plugins to a new maintainer because the old one abandoned the plugin, and thus usually also a new repository location, and thus a new update URL, which means that people need to reinstall once so the update URL refreshes. There's usually not just one plugin version that is affected, but a whole list of them, and it's a bit annoying to constantly have to type down 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.3.1, 1.3.2, and all that, and create this full list of versions that are affected for these situations. So my idea is to adjust the notification mechanism so it supports version ranges. The problem with that is that, I cannot retroactively change the behavior of the plugin manager to support version ranges in old OctoPrint versions. So if you have something earlier installed than what will then be 1.5.0, it would not be able to handle these ranges. So I'm currently mostly future proof, or I want to future proof the whole mechanism rather than actually than that I'm actually going to fix the problem overall, because for a little while we will still have to put all the individual version numbers in this list to support older OctoPrint versions even after this fixing release or this improved release is then released. But afterwards the goal is that at some point to then just say, okay, if the version range is there, then use that, and otherwise we will just say we leave the versions out there so that all plugin versions will match, which is also an option. But yeah, I hope that was somewhat understandable. It's getting a bit warm in here and I'm noticing that it affects me somewhat. Yeah, we are still currently experiencing something like 30 degrees centigrade weather in Germany, which for mid of September is a bit unusual. Yay, climate change, I guess. But yeah, so I'm sitting here in a t-shirt and shorts and it's still 28 degrees centigrade in here, and the lights are not really helping either. So it might be that once I empty that bottle, I have to get up and get a new one, just as a word of warning. Okay, but without further ado, we are going to switch over to my screen, and that will hopefully also okay. So it also tells you here down there what we're going to try to do today, and I'm going to tackle that. So we need to take a look first of all into the plugin manager and the location where it passes these notifications from the file location on plugins.octoprint.org, or just so that we are all on the same page here. Maybe a quick look for you. These are the lists of notices that I'm talking about, and you see also here these sometimes very long lists of affected plugin versions. I think the filament manager one so far was the biggest offender, which was when I decided, okay, something needs to be done about this. And the idea is that in future versions we will support version ranges here and in a new field maybe, or something like that within the data structure, and just set the old one to all, so that if you have an older OctoPrint version, you then would just get warned about this or get this notification, even if maybe you're already on version 1.6. I think at some point we can just ignore the false positives that would generate, because I have to draw the line somewhere. I cannot fix this for old versions, for people that refuse to upgrade, and I do not want to have to write lists like that for the foreseeable future. So yeah. And that has not only been a problem with the update stuff, but also, in general, it just is annoying to have to write things like this when a version range would just work. And maybe to... there it was already. And maybe to take a look at that. So this is how this looks like in the export that we are importing within OctoPrint. So there is, for each entry, we have the plugin identifier, the affected versions, the date when this thing was released, the text of the notification, and also a link that will be linked in the notification then. And I think somewhere there was also the option to add an OctoPrint version. I was fairly sure actually, but maybe I am mistaken here. No, effectively, well, okay, so far it's always been all OctoPrint versions, so, but there is a field in there that we can use. Okay. Also, obviously, in case you see me looking up there, that is me trying to keep track of the live chat. Just in case there's anything that I should react to or some such, because this is after all called OctoPrint Code and Chat, so me just coding with while completely ignoring anything that's going on in the live chat would be a bit lame, wouldn't it? Okay, so what we need to do is first of all take a look at where the notifications are being imported. This is the regular repository stuff. These are the notices, because somewhere they are being converted or not. Get orphans, no. Get notifications, filter relevant. Text in notification, date in notification, versions not in notification, or plugin version in notification versions. Okay, so this is probably going to be fairly easy, because all that we will need to do is add another somewhat change this expression, because so what this does here is once we have all for all plugins that are installed, this method will be called, and for the plugin fetch any relevant notifications, any notifications at all that are registered, and that gets done by first of all getting the notifications that are registered for the plugin in question, and then filtering first of all this list so that only those this is what happens here, so that only those notifications are still in this list, or rather are in this result list, which match the plugin version and or the OctoPrint version. Or if there is no plugin version specified, there's it will always match the plugin version, so to speak, and the same goes for the OctoPrint version. Okay, so since we do not want, or do we? Let me quickly think. So the question now is, how do we do the data model here? Because as I showed you, right now we have these fields plugin, which is the identifier, and versions, which is a list, which maps, which just contains all the version numbers. And this is a very basic comparison where it just looks if the version of the if the currently installed version of the plugin is contained in this list. And what we want to support here is if is to check also whether the version is contained in a range, in a possible range that might be specified in this thing here, in this versions range. And I think the best way to achieve that would be so that we do not actually use a new field, but we stick with versions, but just filter out any kind of ranges we find inside there first. So on older OctoPrint versions, a range will never match an actual plugin version. Or maybe let's quickly demonstrate how a range would look like. So a version range would be something like 1.0 but bigger than that, or bigger and equal than that, or maybe exactly that. And it could also be something like let's say bigger equal than 1.0 but also smaller than 2.0, so that anything in the 1.0 range would match the notification, or rather would match the plugin version or the version range, but for example 2.0 or 2.1 wouldn't, and neither would 0.9. So this is pretty much the idea here, that we can put something like this into this list as well as an entry, and then make sure that older versions of OctoPrint will not hiccup on that, which, looking at this code, they shouldn't, because no plugin will ever have this kind of version number, hopefully. And if they do, then, well, I can't help them. And in newer versions of OctoPrint, we will, or rather what we will build now is a routine that will filter out anything that looks like this from these notifications versions, checks whether the plugin version is contained within this range first, and if it's not, just does this stuff again. And the idea here is that in that case, if the version range matches, it will behave as before. And in older versions, we can still also keep the old version in there and use that. So that is the current idea here that I have in my head, and which hopefully will work without any side effects for the just had to quickly change something in my let me quickly check something. Great. Sometimes things are weird here. I hope the chat widget still works. No, it didn't. Yeah, okay, great. But it should work again in a second, because yeah, I had to change something in my recording software, and that apparently made the YouTube chat widget that I have in there decide to deauthorize. I don't know. As long as it works now, everything is great. Okay, so we do not need that here. What we are now going to do is, first of all, figure out what kind of version ranges we have in this notification. And this is going to be, we are just going to filter out all entries from, oops, sorry. No, that was actually correct what I was going to do there. From the notification versions. So we want to filter anything that contains either this or this or this. And actually, since it is most likely, and since it's most likely that we will encounter an equals comparison here, because greater than or equals or less than or equals is like the most common stuff that I expect to be here, we can do it like this. So now we have version ranges here, which contain, yeah, all version ranges. And we will do the same in reverse. So now version ranges contains any kind of ranges that we have, and versions contains the rest. Right? So, and what we now need to do is try to convert these version ranges into something that we can easily use in order to compare the plugin version to the version range. And notification, not notifications. And conveniently enough, great, now it has disconnected me from the... Give me a second. Okay, now I'm back in the live chat as well, myself. Yeah, because I just got disconnected for some reason. The wonders of technology. Isn't it wonderful? But that's funny now. Okay. Now it has locked out my account in the browser as well. Isn't that wonderful? But now I should hopefully be back. The chances are good that I will now be able to read the chat myself again without having to take a look at the recording. Ah, wonders of technology. Okay. So what I was saying was that, yeah, Python conveniently has a way for us to parse version ranges that look like what I put here. And also stuff like, I don't know, anything less, I said, less than 3.0 or exactly version 4.0 or something. So these kind of things we can parse with, and now I have to remember what it was called. Yeah, I have to look up quickly how that worked again. I think in software update I should be able to was that in software update? There is some place in OctoPrint where I already check version ranges, and I'm trying to remember where. Yeah, but it wasn't somewhere. What I'm using, I think, is package something. Distribution? No, wait. I have to figure out again what the... I could just use version checks. Let me... What was that again? No, that was something else. What was that? Package resources pass version. And I think that was also... Xin version. Version get comparable version. Was that package version? Parse version? Apologies. Oh, yeah. Would be nice if we actually had... I think it was package resources. From setup tools. And it was requirements parsing. That looks okay. Yeah, parse requirements. Yield requirement objects for a string or iterable of lines. Each requirement must start on a new line. See below for syntax. Maybe we should just quickly check that. Wait, was that correct? Dot parse requirements, right? Yeah. Yeah, that looks correct. If we now put in something like, do we do it like this? It's not really helpful. Parse error expected. Okay. Okay. That was not what I expected. I really need to remember how that stuff worked. So, give me a second. Nah. So that was definitely the wrong thing to use here. Where was it again? Parse version? No, parse requirements. No? I knew I do this somewhere. I do it in the Python compatibility check inside the plugins, of course. So yeah. So I need to do this basically. So what we do want is something like so this looks correct. So we're just going to call it foo or something because the only, or do we even need this? Can we maybe get rid of this? Nah, it wants a package name there. Okay, so we give it some spurious package name, or we just give it the plugin identifier, something like this. Okay, so we filter this stuff and then we map it to version ranges, and then we actually also, no, we map it, yeah. So we have another lambda function that runs over the result of filter, and we can close these. And now we need to import package resources if we don't have it yet, which we don't, as far as I can see. Yeah. Hooray. I have no idea what I just hit accidentally, but actually we can just say notification dot plugin plus X, because that now should give us a list of instances like these, and yeah, only for the parsed version comparisons. Well, you know what I mean. And then we can change this this expression here. So we want this to match if there are no versions at all. If versions are not specified, yes. Or if the plugin version is in these versions, or if there is any of these version ranges that the plugin version is a part of. So so like that. Obviously this is now way too long a line, so we're going to split it like that. Okay, so first we filter out this stuff, version ranges, because it doesn't make sense to check if this is inside the version ranges. And also it doesn't make sense to check whether this is no, never mind. Okay, but yeah, so this should be the logic. So if there is any plugin version, if there is any version range that contains the plugin version, then this becomes true, and thus the whole this whole sub expression becomes true. Same goes for the versions not being there at all, because yeah, then we just want to match all versions, and also the old version, the old variant of the code where we check whether the plugin version is explicitly contained in versions, but now filtered by anything that is like this requirement format thingy up here. And now we need to test that. And this is going to be fun. Okay, first of all, we need to generate a test notification that contains a version range. So we are going to take our plugin repository data here, which I think I forgot to pull, regardless. And then we are going to do the following. We're simply going to do anything less or equal to 0.53. Going to do that, then I'm going to quickly fire this up locally, which you will not see because I'm doing it on the other screen, but that should not worry you, I hope. Okay, typo. Typo? Looks like a typo. All right. Oh, hi, Martin. And once that generates, we can look at the local version of the plugin repository, but it's still working. And while it does that, I could as well just hydrate. Oh, come on. It's taking ages right now. But why? I mean, okay, it's a whole bunch of plugins, admittedly, that are registered now, but still, this is a bit. Okay. Apparently it's through now, and it only took a minute. Okay, so here's the local version, and if we now look into the notices JSON, Filament Manager now contains this here directly at the first spot. And I also need to install Filament Manager, obviously, now, but the old version, so that how do I find the old version now? Oh, you know what? I'm going to cheat. I'm simply going to create a plugin that a quick one file plugin in my plugins folder here that just is called the same, and then we are going to give it an affected version number just to be able to test this. Filament manager.py, and this will have a plugin version of, what did I see? Let's call it 1.5.2, and plugin py.compat of this, and I'm thinking that should already suffice, actually. I'm only unsure right now if this is the actual correct. Yeah, it's sad a bit, but I always forget how Python compat. See, it's good that I took a look, because it's called that. So we now have a fake plugin called Filament Manager that has the version 0.5.2, which should match this notice, I hope, because yeah, we're matching for less than or equals to 1.5.3. And is compatible to Python 3, which is also important because the server is running under Python 3. So we're now going to restart this. Doobity-doobity-doo. And then quickly check that we actually have Filament Manager 0.5.2. Yeah, okay. is registered. I mean, it doesn't do anything, but it should generate notifications at least once we tell our local OctoPrint. Yeah. Once we tell our local OctoPrint that it actually should fetch the notifications not from the internet, but from my local instance. Oh, actually, it's already working. Okay, great. So, but now we see that we still have all this. Oh, see, good that I took a look here, because there's also some code on the front-end portion, apparently, which highlights the affected thing. So we might have to adapt that to also somehow either highlight it in the version range, but since I frankly do not want to have to parse that in JavaScript, I might just, in case of version ranges, just list everything and just say, okay, it's in there, but yeah. But what we want to make sure here is that it is actually using the version range and not the whole list there. So I'm going to remove this for a bit. Wait again until everything has regenerated. Wish me luck that it finishes with that somewhat soon. Yeah. Okay, I guess we have to wait another minute. I never said that JS would be fun. But yeah, I know those they that you're talking about, Justin. Also, isn't it funny that your initials are also JS? Just saying. Which is also J. Well, okay. I'm digressing. Yeah, 55 seconds. Hooray. Okay. Let's verify that. Yeah, only a version range in there now. Then we have to we have to go to the plugin manager and reload the notices, I think. Yeah, refresh notices from repository. Did it actually refresh the notices from the repository now, or was it just... Doesn't look like it actually did. So let's step in here just to make sure. But it does. So we have version ranges, a map object, which we cannot... Nope, that was wrong. That was not what I intended to hit. The debugger is sometimes a bit behind on things, right? Filament manager. Step over, step over, step over. Version ranges, map object. And now we can still not. Okay. Evaluate expression. We want a list of this. Thank you. It's empty. That's not good. Okay. Then let's evaluate this. Evaluate what was what again? Alt F8. And we're going to wrap this in another list constructor because I do not want to have to handle generators here. What? Why is it an integer with ooh. No. No, I don't understand. Okay. What is notification versions? Still the old stuff. But it's all strings. Wait, oh, I'm stupid. I'm not getting it actually from the local thing. It just matched with, yeah, okay. Don't mind me. Yeah, great. I just killed the server. Okay, so next try. We're going to remove this breakpoint for now because it's not really helpful at the moment, and we're going to change the notices location here from all of this to this. Save? Fascinating. I think I just found a bug. Yes, I just found a bug. Okay. I'm going to jot down this bug. Because I'm seeing a JS exception right now. Somehow, somewhere, I killed a parameter apparently, or renamed it, and something broke in the process. So we're going to do this manually via the config YAML file because that will also work. Plugins, plugin manager. What was the setting called? The setting is called notices. So that should do it. Restart. Okay. Jim, don't joke about something like that. That's still the cached version. I expected, but okay, cool. Not cool, but dict object has no attribute plugin. We did something somewhere wrong. Oh right, it's not notification dot plugin, it's notification of plugin. Like oh, like this, right? Yeah, that looks okay. So next try. Yeah, Jim, the problem is we do have plugin reviews, but you are one of the reviewers, so yeah. Let's try that again. This looks good now. So we do get this notification. And we get this affected version list up here, which only contains the entry that we put in there in our local install. So this looks like it works, which is nice. Of course, now I notice that my idea with stuff not matching in old versions and thus always matching will not work from the logic, because it doesn't check whether the version's entry notification is the list is empty, and I also do not filter. Okay. Also, it's warm in here. Sorry. And yeah, you're right, Justin. I will also need to write a test for this filter method, I guess. to make sure. Ugh. Okay, so we need to change that a bit. I guess we still need to we still need to add a new field here after all, so that old versions can use this thing and new versions can use whatever we call the field that then contains a mixture or can contain a mixture of this kind of syntax or ranges. And yeah, so we are going to call that, ugh, I'm decidedly unhappy with this, but I don't see how else to do that. I mean, I could just call it version, but it contains more than one, right? Then again, we have Octo versions, so maybe we could just call it plugin versions. So we have plugin versions, state text, and link, and I think this is going to be what I do. Plugin versions is this. And then we put the old stuff back in, which was this endless thing. Yeah. And then we do this slightly differently. So our version ranges are going to be this, with an empty list as option. And our old version is going to be this. And actually, yeah, just this. And then this looks slightly differently. So we will check if we have version ranges and this. Bah. This is way too much logic for this time of the day. So if we have version ranges and any is contained therein, or if we have versions and any is contained therein, or if we have neither version ranges nor plugin versions, right? Nor old. So, wait. I actually want to do it like this, or no, I need or God, do I hate this stuff. Is this correct? So apparently we don't need those after all. Make it complicated, will ya? I'm not entirely sure what got iterator. Okay, then we put it in a list after all. I'm annoyed by this. Okay. So, first of all, text and date need to be in the notification, otherwise it's an invalid notification specification. Then, if we have version ranges, if something is in this list, I'm thinking way too complicated here. Wait. If plugin versions in notification. So first of all, this is the new version. If else. So old style stuff looks like this. No version ranges, but old versions, which we are now going to recall again regardless. Versions equals notification dot get versions empty list as a default. Nah. Going to make this a bit easier to use, not to lose. Actually, look at that. Nah. So in case you're wondering what the F I'm doing here, I'm simplifying the logic a bit by splitting it up so it doesn't have to be everything in one line and stuff like this. Because what I now have here is... Okay, so we already established that it is in there, so we can also get rid of that. Okay, what we do now here is, if there's plugin versions in notification, then we fetch it. Define an isRange function, which does this check if one of these characters is inside our entry. And then we filter. Our version ranges are then a list made by what we did before, and our old versions are a list made by filtering this plugin versions list by anything that is not a range. Otherwise, if plugin versions is not in notification, so if this is an old style notification spec, then we set version ranges to an empty list because we do not have anything, and old versions will be the versions field if it's set on the thing, and otherwise an empty list. Actually, no, wait, we do this differently. If versions in notification, we do it that way, because then we can also have an else where we have neither defined, which means we have version ranges equals old versions equals none. So, and now we so again, we test if the text is notification, date is a notification. Then we check if version ranges is none and version ranges is none and versions is none. And I know that I do not need parentheses here because and is yeah, comes before or evaluation, but I prefer to do it to just make it explicit, the implicit ruling here. Sorry if this somehow triggers you, but this is just how it really helps me to parse something like this without going crazy. Okay, so we now check if version ranges is none and versions is none. Then this part becomes true, which makes the whole parenthesis, the whole expression become true. The other option is version ranges is set and some version range inside the list of version ranges matches, or rather our plugin version matches one range in there. Or the old format of versions where we check whether the plugin version is contained therein. So that should work for all cases now. They actually have this urge right now to make this a testable method because this really, really worries me to have this in here just sitting and not, yeah. Starting to get the feeling we will not be doing anything but this, but we'll actually make it tested and all that properly. So yeah. But still, if we now restart the server, I hope that we will still get a notification. And then we can also check if the old stuff works as well by doing the same stunt that we did before, just removing this line and then re-adding the other one and all that. So okay, plugin manager. Okay, this does not look like it worked. Let's see. Oh, actually it did, it just took a while. But still, yeah, I would like to step through this just to make sure. So plugin versions is a notification. We fetch it. This range gets defined. We get our version ranges list and we get our regular versions list. And versions ranges contains exactly one parsed requirement. Versions is empty because there are no non-range versions in there. And then we check if this is true, which it isn't. And we check if this is true, which, surprise, surprise, it is, because we have one version that matches this range. And then we will not check this anymore, because once one gets evaluated to true in an OR expression, everything becomes true. So there is a bit of a compile optimization going on here, so this won't actually be called here. But yeah, that works. And we will now remove that briefly so that it should use the old method once it has recompiled, which will take a minute, as we know. Still waiting. Yeah. Did I mention it's warm? Come on, finish already. Gotta say, so it's really nice to have some drum and bass on my right ear while I'm doing this. It feels way less weird now than it did before. So just to verify that it actually did update, Filament Manager now has again only this versions array. And we have a breakpoint. So if we now go here and say refresh notices from repository, we should hopefully run into this breakpoint, which we just, apologies, which we just now did. Yep. Versions is this whole thing. Version ranges is empty. So this here will be false again. This time this will be false as well. I'm expecting at least. Yep. And this will be true. Yep. Nice. Okay, so this works. Yeah, we don't need to run through this for all of the other. So plugin versions will always win over the old versions. For the former versions of OctoPrint, we will just have these arrays for now, and at one point we can just then remove them. Old versions of OctoPrint will trigger the notification for all versions of the plugin in question, and new versions will look if this is defined, and if so, evaluate it accordingly. So this is what we wanted. I should probably at some point, yeah, okay. But as I said, currently this is not really tested, and this is a bit worrying. Okay, so what we are going to do is we make this, I think this has no, yeah, this has absolutely, oops, I forgot a line. So we should be able to okay, so what do we need? We need, oops, we need to remove this one. And an OctoPrint version. Right? That's all that depends on. Yeah. And now instead of using filter relevant, we are using filter relevant notification. And actually we need to lambda n, we know n like notification, filter notification n plugin OctoPrint version, because all of this now needs to be supplied to the, yeah, that was correct. So this will now call this method, and we can then test can actually test this method. And I now have to figure out how I did this again, or rather, how do I do that for bundled plugins? I think I just, yeah, okay, good, perfect. So we do make a new directory here, which is called plugin manager, and in that we will throw in an init file. And also, yeah, that will not contain a whole lot, because we are just going to copy that and reuse it, and yeah. And then we will put in here a file called test notification filter. And we are going to need a header. We are going to need unit test. We are going to need mock and we're going to need DDT, which is a data-driven test framework. Then we're going to create our notification filter test, which inherits from unit test or test case, which will have a setup method. Now, will it have a setup method? I think it will not actually have a setup method. I think we will just dev test. Wait, I have to quickly look up how the format was again. Test underscore. Okay. Test notification match, something like that. So, and we will give this a notification to test, a plugin, and an OctoPrint version. And then we will check if, wait, I need to, yeah. We do that. And we actually rename that into, yeah. And the result will be filter relevant notification for the notification, the plugin, and the OctoPrint version expected. And then we do a assert equal that our expected is also our result. Now this is not a complete test. The thing is, we actually also need, let me quickly check something. Actually, I think it makes more sense if we simply put this here, the code that we test and the test case that we write for it. Because I need to check which elements of the plugin I actually am which I'm actually using here. So I'm looking at the plugin version, and I'm only looking at the plugin version. Could this be? You know what? We are going to make this a bit easier then, because we are going to take this and we're going to do this. Because if I only use the plugin version, there's really no need to mock the whole plugin in my test then, or to even get access to all the fields here. So yeah, I think that should work. And in that case, we also of course get the plugin version here and here. So this is the test case, and now we just get this data, and this is where DDT comes in. So first of all, we have to tell DDT that it should be doing stuff with this method there. Then we're going to define a bunch of data, and then we're going to tell DDT to unpack that. And I think this was correct. It's been a while since I wrote DDT code. But yeah, it looks like that. So first of all, the whole test case gets a declaration that it is instrumentalized with DDT, and then you do it like that. Okay. So first of all, we want a notification that has neither versions nor plugin versions, so it's just an empty dict. Our plugin version will be 1.0 and our OctoPrint version will be 1.5.0, and we will expect this to match because we have neither an OctoPrint version defined nor an oh wait, I need to define a text, right? A text and a name. There was something, a text and a, so text and the date. A date of I don't know, 2020 09 15 at this is a valid date. Okay. So we expect this to match because we have no specific version requirements. We just check whether a text and a date is set. Let me quickly pull this up so that you can compare. So we will check if text and date are set. Then we will run into version ranges is none and versions is none. And then we will also see that Octo versions is not in the notification, so this will also be true. So this should already work. So the next test case is that we again have a text and a, you know what, I'm simply going to copy this. We again have a text and a date, and also versions. No, wait, plugin versions, right? Yeah, plugin versions of anything greater equals to 1.0.0. Oh wait, I did put plugin key somewhere, right? Oh no, notification plugin. Okay. Then we will also set that field on this dummy notification. And actually I'm going to split this so that it becomes clearer what we're looking at. Okay. Text, date, plugin versions, plop, 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 and that should also be true. Then we have something where we have a whole bunch of, we have a range that is outside of this, but we also have 0.9 and 1.0.0 in here separately. Wait, we'll do it. Let's do something like this maybe. Right? So it will match still. And then we will do this, which should match neither this nor that, so it should be false. And then let's add a check where we only do versions, again with the old 1.0.0. And also maybe add 1.0.1, so it's somewhere in the middle there, so that should be true again. This, however, should not be true, should be false. So we have plugin versions, we have versions, we have neither is set. What we now still need to check if is OctoPrint versions, right? So we are going to take one of our true cases from up here. Neither plugin versions nor versions are set, but this time we do set an OctoPrint version of 1.5.0, and that should still produce true. Oh wait, that is also a list, I think. And also it's plural. Plural, I said. Okay. But now this is only going to hold true for this, and so this will have to be false. And I think that is now something that should cover. Also, we did not need mock after all. I thought we had to mock the plugin data format, but we didn't. Don't get confused by me suddenly holding up whiteboard markers into the video. It's something that came out of the Discord channel. Also the reason, by the way, why this picture is slightly crooked. And now that you've seen it, you can no longer unsee it. Okay, So we now have something like 8 test cases, I think. And now we are going to check if those actually work. And I hope this here does what it is supposed to do. Oh, 6 and 8 failed. Which one is 6? 6 is the one where... yes, this is now the question. How do we... wait, did it generate... I want to see all of them. Please. Show past. Yeah, okay. So what failed was this last one and this one. Why? Why? It shouldn't pass. It shouldn't pass. Yeah, then maybe I should also put false here, not true. Okay, so that was a broken test case. And this one here should not be passing because we have the OctoPrint versions not contained herein. And I'll have to step into this, I fear. But first of all, let's make sure that that one now is fixed. Yeah, okay. So it's only the last one that is failing. Why? Octo versions, because it's called Octo versions and not OctoPrint versions. Yeah, okay, cool. This should also be Octo versions. Let's try that again. It's still failing. Okay. Octo versions, or is OctoPrint compatible? Notification. Octo versions. Octo equals OctoPrint version. Oh, I forgot how does this one work. Okay, yeah, because that one is actually somewhat intelligent. This is comparable thing. So the OctoPrint version already supports this kind of range syntax here automatically. So what I need to do here is need to make and if it finds just a version, it assumes that anything greater or equal than this version is the comparison to make. And since we only gave it a version, it will now not actually match against equals 142, but it will check whether the Octo version is greater than or equal than 142, and this is obviously true with 150. So what we are going to simply do here is do this, and then this should hopefully fail. Alternatively, we could also just say something like less than or equals to 150. But yeah, we are doing it like this now, and now all our tests are green. So this is looking good, actually, I would say. We could still maybe... Now, it doesn't really make sense, I think, to add more tests regarding the Octo version stuff, because I'm fairly sure, but I'm going to check whether this is actually true, that this already has a test case. Let me check. That would be in util. What was it called again? Version pi. So we do have that, but is this actually tested? Because if not, then we should really change this. Util test. That's suboptimal. Yeah, that really needs a test case. I mean, I have them for here. I have some doc tests here, docstring tests here, and also here, but not here. Test if current OctoPrint version is compatible with any of the provided compatibility entries. Compatibility to test against. Result will be true if any match is found. OctoPrint version, tuple or setup tools version. Optional OctoPrint version to match against. If not, current base version will be determined while I get OctoPrint version. Ugh, I do not want to write unit tests for this now. I really don't. I really, really don't. I think I refuse. Yeah, okay. I was just checking if I already did one of these checks once here to figure out if this is a comparison string or not, and my current check with contains an equals, contains a less than or greater than character matches all of these variants, so that should be fine. Okay, but this should actually be fine now. So we can at least commit what we already did. Not the notices though. So we added package versions, package resources as an import up there, and down here we extracted this into its own method here and did some magic here and made this way more complicated than it was before. And then we added some tests. Okay, so what we can do here is this is what is this? Is this a new feature? Yeah, it is a new feature, and it's in the program manager. Support version ranges for notices. Yep, nice. So we can commit this, we can push this. Push it. Current track is a bit meh. Yeah, well. Okay. Now what we need to do is first of all update this. So I actually do have the current version from the server, because this is definitely not the current one. Fairly sure that we pushed in. Yeah, because we added this clipper thing earlier. What I will do here now is just for these two do something like this. Yeah. So anything less than 1.6.0, and here it is anything less than 0.3.1. And then I will document this up here. We're going to do it like that, so that any one of Jim, for example, so anyone who helps me with the plugin repository maintenance will still be able to find how to do that stuff in the future. So for now we will have to I will put this so for Jim and for Charlie, I think too. I'm not sure right now. Ollie definitely, but Ollie is not here, I think. Yeah, for those of you for the plugin repository maintainers, those of you I will post about how we do this for now in the in the team project thingy on GitHub later. Yeah, or on Discord. No, I think the GitHub thingy makes more sense. And yeah, but anyhow, I think we can at least push this. Go. So that was the first thing on my list. And now we have, yeah, what I originally wanted to maybe tackle here as well today is, yeah, this whole notification madness that we just jumped through all these hoops is, yeah, currently primarily used to notify people that the maintainer changed, and thus the endpoint of the update URL of the software update now needs to change as well, and for that they need a reinstall of the plugin. And my idea was it would maybe be nice to, for this specific case, which in the future might happen more and more often, especially since we currently are still looking at only 2/3 of the plugins registered on the plugin repository being Python 3 compatible, and some of them being abandoned, but some of them still being fairly liked and such. I'm thinking it would be nice to have a way to override the update URL, or rather the update configuration of a plugin from a file on the plugin repository. So similar to the notices, something that the plugin manager, or rather, no, not the plugin manager, but something rather that the software update plugin in OctoPrint will pull in order to determine whether, unless something has been specified in a config YAML, which always should win. So whether it should override what the plugin provides or not, because then we could do something like write a quick YAML file. Let me maybe just prototype this. We could do something. We could have something like I don't know, filament manager, and then we could just I forgot what the fields are even called that I would have to override. Sorry. Software update. Is this one the right one? Oh wait, we're going to do this differently. Also, I just noticed I also still have to do something about the front-end part of the plugin manager regarding these plugin ranges, don't I? One thing after the other. First of all, what I wanted to take a look at is the software update plugin. So the configuration of a plugin's update check is done by the plugin usually. You can also override it in a config YAML file, but yeah, usually stuff is taken from the plugin because it implements a certain hook that the software update plugin consumes, and then it evaluates the data that it gets in there in order to figure out how to do stuff. And the idea here is now that this whole version check definition should be something that I can override from. This is so confusing because in the recording I just now saw the mouse cursor with some delay. So that I can just, for example, say something like, oh, give me an example here. Yeah, right. So we just have maybe a type is GitHub release that stays, but we would then say we have a different user and a different repo and a different archive URL to install. Or was it pip that we, wait, I have to check. User repo. That is how we check. And then the update method is just, yeah, pip. So that we could do something like this. And just to maybe copy the current information here, so we would then be able to push something like this into the okay, that was the wrong one. Sorry. We could just put something like this into this file. That would be, come on. And OctoPrint, just with the notifications, OctoPrint would fetch this file, see that the plugin that it currently has loaded called Filament Manager has this different fields defined. It is not overridden via config YAML, and then it would use that. And this way we could just quickly change this stuff on the server, and any OctoPrint version after and including 1.5.0 would just be able to detect that there is a new version of the plugin under new maintenance and fetch that, or rather offer to fetch that. And that would be really nice, but I don't think that I can implement this during the next half an hour or so, and I don't want to make it longer than that, to be honest, because my stomach is kind of empty and I haven't yet had dinner and all that. So but let's do this. I'm going to first of all now take a look at the front-end component of the plugin manager, because we forgot that just now with the range detection. And sorry, yeah, I will first take care of that, and then I will also take a look at this JavaScript exception that I spotted earlier, and fix that as well. And this should hopefully, yeah, give you some more entertainment looking at me trying to figure out how to solve stuff, and get some sensible things done that need doing. Okay, so we don't need that, but we do need the plugin manager static JS plugin manager JS. Okay, so where are the notifications evaluated? Also, we can close the unit test stuff here. Okay, invalid URL, enable URL install from plugins response. If equal then plugin notifications length, each plugin notification, notice count, show plugin notification. Important notification plugin. Here, and this is where we now need to be a bit more intelligent, because so we are going to simply wait. No, I think we are currently not forwarding this. We're using this map notification here, which is doing this, and yeah, so this should be plugin versions. This is actually making it way easier than I thought. Notification get versions empty. So what this does is, when we have plugin versions in notification, we take that and return it. Otherwise, if we have versions in notification, we take that and return it. Otherwise, we return an empty list. Which means this should just work without any changes. That was now fairly easy. So what will happen here now is that if we have a list of distinct version numbers, the one that a plugin has will be highlighted. But if we have ranges, we will just display the ranges. I'm not sure if I really want to. I mean, I could also do a detection here if it's a range or not, and do a different matching in that case if it is a range. But that would mean that I have to parse version ranges in JavaScript, and I'm not really sure that I want to jump through all these hoops and maybe pull in another dependency just to be able to highlight 052 in this scenario here. Or rather, if there would be something. So right now we have the version list here. If there's something like less than or equals to 053, just to highlight this single range, I do not think that this merits the effort of trying to or of having to parse version ranges just to be able to highlight the one that has been selected here. I mean, it was trivial here because I just have to check if the version is in there, make it big, make it bold, and otherwise, yeah, well. But yeah, I don't think this is worth it. So I'm not going to do that. It just feels like way too much wasted time for something that most people will probably not even notice. So we're going to leave it at what we did here. After we check that this actually works. Did I did right. Yeah, so this stuff here is committed, but it's not. So we're going to quickly fire up the server again. I stopped it earlier. The plugin repository server, the local one, to check to test that this will now do what I expect it to do, which is returning plugin versions if plugin versions is set and versions otherwise. Yeah, so if someone really wants to see this, that the range is highlighted, I'm happy to get a PR that does that, but only if it doesn't mean like a completely unmaintainable code mess just for this highlighting stuff. So if there is an easy way, like one single function added somewhere, okay, then I'll merge. But otherwise, I really don't think that we should make this too complicated just for something like some, yeah, Visual Sugar, basically. Is the server up? No, of course not. Is it up now? Yeah. Two cows standing on a meadow. One says moo, says the other one. I just wanted to say that. Just because Martin earlier asked me or said I should tell jokes while I'm doing this. You don't want me to tell jokes. They are of this quality that you just witnessed. Refresh notices from repository. This is not what I expected. Let's try that again. Why doesn't it stop at the... Consider me puzzled. It is running in debug mode, right? Because there have been cases where I managed to forget that part. Yeah, it is. Notification. Why are there tabs in there? Tabs for indentation, spaces for alignment. It should stop there. Why doesn't it stop there? Did I... No, it should still fetch from there. Okay. Let's put one there. See what happens. It stops there, okay. That's weird. What the... wait. Action command, prompt support, announcement plugin, backup and restore core wizard, discovery, error tracking, G-code viewer, login, blah blah blah, virtual printer, filament manager. Plugin key. Plugins enabled. Are there notices? Yes. Get the OctoPrint version. Get the plugin notifications. Do something. Okay. For whatever reason. Okay. No, wait. Something is weird here. I'm going to restart just in case that the line numbers got shifted and the debugger is now showing me lines where it's supposed to currently be, where it is not actually. And caching should have been. Wait, we're going to make this easier on us. Caching should have been avoided by the refresh force. The force refresh. Boom. Okay. Self underscore notices. It's in there, so it should. Yeah. OctoPrint version. Yep. Plugin notifications. We have one. Hooray. Yeah, okay, so it was a line number thing from the looks of it. So this should... I forgot to restart it all. Yep, perfect. So that should now return what I expected to return. We don't need that anymore. And it's displaying it correctly. Okay. Right. Yeah. Ugh. That was one escape too much. Too many, sorry. No, that is actually more like a bug fix at this point. It's in the Pro plugin manager and it is fixed display of affected versions. If we use plugin versions instead of versions for matching, those should also be the ones made available to the front end. Good thing you're using Firefox and not causing a memory CPU leak. Yeah. I spent half the afternoon, or actually most of the afternoon, trying to hunt down a memory leak that's only reproducible in Chromium, and I'm still not really sure that I found it. That was a bit of a downer, I have to say. I hate having to debug memory leaks, especially if they only occur in one browser. And on the browser side, on the server side, it's way easier, in my opinion. But yeah, okay. So that was that. Reload. And now let's figure out what I broke. And Brian, that one really hurt. Know how to make an OctoPrint instance laugh, give it 10 tickles. Oh, ow, ow, ow. But I think I have to remember that one. Yeah. Ignore. And now we will have to... Great, my ear is itching. That wasn't a plugin manager when I went here and wanted to change this here. Because then, boom, yeah, things break. Where is my... I'm going to try to move the thing over here. Okay. Oh, no. This is not really usable. Let's try it this way. So the problem, I think, was right there. Pip args is null in save plugin settings in the plugin manager source, I think. Ugh. Why? Yeah, Jim, I was wondering if it was a pnotify bug. The problem is simply updating to a current version and trying out if it vanishes. Yeah, no way. Stuff has changed so much there. And considering that at some point soonish, I also have to think about just replacing the whole front end. I really do not want to try to update pnotify now. But the thing is that even when I removed the spawning of many pnotify notifications, I still saw the leak. So I'm not so sure it is that. But yeah, I'm taking inputs on ticket number 3729 because that is the one that I'm investigating there. Okay, so pip args is null. But why is this causing an error here? I mean, it's what confuses me is that it is underlining this part. I can see it breaking here, but not there, because this is just a comparison, so that should not. Okay. Let me take a look into the pip args. Did I change something here recently that would explain this? Indeed. How did it look before? Oh, look at that. We also did this during a live stream, I think. Oh, this is one of these cases where identity and equality are not the same thing, apparently, and one breaks the code. Let's do it that way. Shooby-doo. Fun fact, by the way, the YouTube analytics thing on the studio page is currently broken here as well. So yay. According to that thing, we still have 4:49 p.m. and one single viewer, whereas actually it should be something like 24 right now, but yeah, we're just going to ignore that. Later. So, did this fix it? Plugin manager, edit, and we just want this prefix here to get back to the usual. Yep, that fixes it. Okay. So my guess is that the identity check against undefined, or rather the non-identity check against undefined that was before, here before, evaluated to false, even though pip args was null, whereas the equality check against undefined evaluated to true. So yay. We are going to just err on the side of caution and do the same. Oh, wait, no, not like this, but actually like this. and do the same here, because this is probably the same situation. And here as well. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I was just quickly merging something. Manager, then we go here, then we just yeah, change something, so this gets called. Yeah, okay. And this is a bug fix. Okay. So that means I can cross this off my list as well. Hooray. So the update URL override thingy and the channels for plug. Yeah, another idea that I had for doing live on air was we recently discussed it on the Discord in the development channels. That it would be really nice if just like OctoPrint plugins had also access to defining release candidate release channels for release candidates and all that. And this is something that I also want to add. However, that is probably a bit more involved, especially since it requires quite the UI work. I'm not yet sure if I will do this just during my regular working hours, or maybe reserve it for some future code and chat thingy that I might do. I will try to get back to doing this a bit more regularly again. I haven't yet. Now that I hopefully get more interesting stuff to do on air again, and less like analysis, bug fixing, and analysis in during the release candidate phase, which I think is about as, or can be about as exciting as watching paint dry, and I did not want to do that to you. Plus, just during this release candidate phase, I will admit I was also a bit too tired to commit to live streams after hours, because actually I'm now doing some overtime when I do these in order to be able to reach more people around the globe due to time zones and all that. So okay, but I think we leave it at that for today. My stomach just informed me that it is hungry and empty, and it really wants some stuff to get thrown into it. For those of you who are patrons at the $20 at the $5 level or above, or GitHub sponsors at the $5 level or above, don't forget that this Friday we also will have the next OctoPrint on Air live broadcast thingy. For everyone else of you, of course, the recording of that will be released after, as usual. So full transparency and all that. But next live stream for the patrons at the $5 plus level, or the GitHub supporters at the $5 plus level, is on Friday. Check your mails / your newsfeed. And I will now quickly switch back to me like that. Okay. I'm thinking if I have forgotten to say something, but I don't think so. The only thing left to say really is I hope it was interesting again, and thanks for the double or triple or 21 system or set of eyes on my code while I'm working on it. It's I gotta say that these coding live streams are always a bit weird because I'm sitting here, I'm coding, I'm commenting what I'm doing, and all of you are basically looking over my shoulder and are seeing precisely what I'm doing, are seeing precisely whenever I do something incredibly stupid. And it is a bit weird, but you're a really, really nice audience, so thank you for that. It makes me feel less weird. And also, really good point from Jim just now in the live chat. Huge shout out to Charlie Powell for the Python 3 upgrade script that he released this week. No, last week actually. Sorry, that we released last week. There's been a huge spike in Python 3 installs now for OctoPrint that I see on the usage tracking, and there's also been a lot of activity with regards to the plugins now and the plugin support, and it makes me really, really confident that we will get everyone migrated off of Python 2 sooner rather than later, and it's been a really huge help. Actually, we could quickly, while I'm looking at that stuff anyhow, wait a second. I'm going to share stuff over here. Right. So this here is the Python version over time graph in my tracking, and it's a logarithmic scale. Keep that in mind, because otherwise you would not really see the yellow line, though it has been growing. Don't get confused by it going down here. That is because the day isn't over yet, because these are total sums per day. But when we started, so before the update script, or rather before the blog post about the update script was released on September 9th, we still had only 630 instances of Python 3, or rather of OctoPrint instances running under Python 3 reported over the past 60 days. Oh, right now it's pinned to 60 days here. But once the blog post went out on the 10th, stuff exploded more or less. So we are now at 630 versus 2006. So almost, not yet quadrupled, but definitely more than tripled. And that is really, really good news. And speaking of that, I'm going to quickly move this over there again while we are looking at it, just to get some current stats. Yeah, we are now even at 69% of all plugins listed on the repository of that have Python 3 compatible. So it's going up. I forgot to switch my screen. I'm great. Okay, sorry. I'm going to do this again. Right. So let me drag this over again. Right. So this is what I wanted to show you. So this here was the 9th that I mentioned earlier, 630 instances, and now we are at 2000, or yesterday we were at 2006. So yeah, that has been quite the upwards movement. And again, this is a logarithmic scale, so don't get confused by the weird scaling here. On a non-logarithmic scale, this here would look more like this probably. Actually, let's check. I think it was here. Log base 10, and we're going to make it linear. Yeah, okay. This is what I meant with it. It's going to simply blow stuff out of proportions if I don't use a logarithmic scale. Also, don't get confused about this uptick here. The thing is that up until the release of OctoPrint 1.4.1, the environment information was only being reported on startup of the instance. So if you had your thing running for the past 4 months or something, or 4 weeks or whatnot, anything longer than a day, it would not show up here. And I changed this in 141 because, and in 142 naturally. So now it gets reported once per day, and that allows me to actually track the number of instances out there that have the one or the other Python version, as long as you have not disabled tracking or disabled environment information tracking. Yeah. So that's the thing here. And the other thing that I just wanted to share is this little number here. We have 250 plugins listed in the repository, and of those 173, which makes up 69%, are now Python 3 compatible. This is really great news. I remember a time when this value was like in the very, very early double digits. So this is really great that we are now even in grasp of 3/4 instead of just constantly being in 2/3 in 2/3 range like we were the past months. So yeah, progress, really, really nice to see. And I hope this number will increase. I also hope that this number will increase. 9, the other one. Let me, yeah, the yellow one. Because that would be really nice. Yeah, just as a reminder, the goal is to keep OctoPrint compatible to both Python 2 and 3 until at least March 2021, because then it will be 1 year since I released the Python 3 compatible OctoPrint version. But after that, all odds are off, or rather, all gloves are off. I am not sure yet when I will be able to release version 2.0. Because so far I haven't really had time to actually work on it the past month due to first the pandemic and then working on 141 and 2. So basically support and maintenance overhead. But yeah, that will remove support for Python 2. And until then, it would be nice to have most of the really popular plugins ported. And what's next on the list? Yeah, this is something that I will talk about more in OctoPrint on Air on Friday. But yeah, right now I'm actually still in catch-up mode from my vacation. Oh, you mean in regards to 2.0? Yeah, Newcom layer, definitely going to be in there. And yeah, UI upgrade, I'm not yet sure, though it would be a good timing because 2.0 will also mean backwards compatibility loss. But I still am working through my online courses for React and Vue. Actually, I haven't made any progress the past, I think, 2 or 3 months because I simply was too exhausted to put in any after work learning hours. So yeah. But yeah, that is still something. So I first want to work through this stuff in order to make an informed decision on which framework I want to go with, and then we can tackle that and figure out how to implement it. And it might be that it happens in 2.0, or I will just say, well, a year later we have 3.0 or something. I don't know. We will see. It's still undecided. It all depends also, as usual, on what else happens all around, because yeah, I mean, I did not see the pandemic coming at all, and it ate up a lot of time. Yeah. Anyhow, 7 p.m. My stomach is grumbling. Time to wrap this up for good. Back to me. Again, I hope it was interesting. I hope also the stats just now also helped you put some stuff into perspective and all that. And I'm now going to run into my kitchen and prep my dinner. And I just wish all of you happy printing, and also please stay healthy, stay safe, wear a mask when outside, and practice social distancing and all that. I certainly will. And yeah, I will see you next time, whenever that will be. I'm not making any promises right now, but I'll try to make it way before 3 months. Bye.